What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The catch. Fam, I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight. Hope everyone is having a great Tuesday. Week 8 of the fantasy football season is gone. It's over. We're headed straight into week 9, ladies and gentlemen. So, you know exactly what we need to do. We need to hop into some live week 9 fantasy Q&A. So, whatever you guys need tonight, start sits, trades, waiver wire, fallout, injuries, trade impacts. It's another week here in what's been a crazy season where we have a lot to break down, a lot to get into tonight. So, you know what to do. Hop in the live chat. Let me know what you guys need. Let's have some fun tonight. Let's talk some fantasy football. So, hope everyone's doing great. Hope you guys all brought home a dub last week. I know it was another tough week. It's been a tough season, but hopefully you guys brought home some dubs. And hopefully week 9 is looking up for everybody. All right, so let's hop into a couple of news bits for the day. So we'll kick it off with Ghost Hunter here saying RIP Stephon Diggs. So Diggs is going to miss the entire season. I was a little surprised that the report took as long as it took to come out, but nonetheless, Diggs has a torn ACL. He's going to miss the rest of the season. So this Texans team desperately needs Nico Collins back. Not that, Tank Dell is not a good wide receiver or anything like that, but ultimately, this team needs some help. So the way that the Texans have started the season, it's like this team was supposed to be one of the best offenses in the league, and they're not a bad offense, but we're still kind of missing like that. I don't know, just that over the top game from the Texans. I feel like the run game's been great with Mixon, but I just don't know exactly what we're going to get out of the Texans this year. I still think they're going to be a very good team. But man, this has been a rough start to the season for them. But I think they'll recover. And yeah, for those of you who own Tank Dell, Nico Collins, this is probably a good thing. I would say it's a better thing for Tank Dell. I think Nico is going to be fine no matter what. But for those of you who own Tank Dell, this is definitely a boost. Once again, I don't know if we're going to exactly get what we got out of Dell last season, but I think overall, this has to be positive in terms of overall volume. The interesting player to watch, who hasn't done much, will be Dalton Schultz. We'll find out what happens, but definitely, just a brutal season for injuries, guys. My, oh my. All right, Deontay Johnson has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens, so he'll no longer be with the Carolina Panthers. Joins the Ravens. This was a splash kind of surprise. Deontay Johnson getting traded was not a surprise, but I feel like the Ravens were not a team that I had on my radar. I think a lot of people were guessing the Buccaneers. There's some other names thrown out there, but it's official. Deontay Johnson will be a Baltimore Raven. And my initial thought on this is that I don't quite know that this is good from a fantasy perspective. We talked about Devontae Adams joining the Jets, right? That, to me, doesn't negatively impact Garrett Wilson, right? And it hasn't negatively impacted him. That's been my standpoint, right? But this is a little bit of a different offense. And this might be the one offense that I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is good or bad for Zay Flowers, but I feel like initially this kind of hurts Zay Flowers. I feel like it's not great for Mark Andrews, and then I feel like it's not great for Deontay Johnson. It's certainly not bad. I don't think Deontay Johnson is going to be just not startable or anything, but I don't know. We're going to have to kind of see how things look with this offense with Bateman's been good too, was the other thing. For the most part, Rashad Bateman in the role that he has on this offense has been good on the season. So we're going to have to see how things shake out between Deontay Johnson, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, Mark Andrews. And on top of that, the weeks where this team just runs the football down opponents' throats. So this is certainly, overall, this is good for the Ravens offense, but is it good from a fantasy perspective? That's going to be the question that we will get answered in the next couple of weeks. But If you own Deontay Johnson, like, we're not going to do anything crazy here. We're going to wait and see what happens. But I do think this could impact Zay Flowers as well as Mark Andrews in a bit of a negative way. And then, Deontay Johnson, well, Xavier Legette has been doing some stuff. He kind of goes from a clear wide receiver 1 to well, I don't exactly know what we're going to get here. Okay. Anthony Richardson has been benched this week. Joe Flacco will be the starting quarterback for the Colts. So what's the fantasy fallout here? Well, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, they're startable, but they're still flex options for me. I just have a weird feeling. And I think one thing that we really need to keep in mind when it comes to Joe Flacco, who is certainly better as a starting quarterback right now than Anthony Richardson, but you really look at what Flacco has done. It certainly has not been bad, but hasn't really been great. I mean, 26.5 fantasy points against the Jags. Fine. Good. Very good. But it's the Jaguars. You know what I'm saying? 15 fantasy points in relief in week 4 was good because I was limited action and it was against Pittsburgh. And then 14.6 points against Tennessee. I mean, he threw 2 touchdowns and a pick. It's not bad, but is Flacco really like this super high ceiling player in fantasy? I'm not quite sure. We go back to last year, a very different situation, but he had 17 or more fantasy points in all those starts, more than 20 in 3 of those, 5 starts. So we're kind of searching for that type of floor and ceiling, And this year in his starts, we've only gotten that ceiling in 1 start, and it was against arguably the worst defense in the entire NFL. So, all I'm saying is I don't think we need to go all out crazy on trying to pick up Joe Flacco and start him or anything, but probably better overall than Anthony Richardson. So it is a good matchup this week. The Vikings have struggled against the position so far on the season. So yeah, I mean, we're probably going to lean towards Flacco. The Vikings are giving up the second most fantasy points to the quarterback position so far on the year. So there is reason to believe this week, but all I'm saying is be a little bit cautious here. I don't know if Flacco's going to change the course of your season. And I mean, I guess the verdict is still out. Is he going to be the long-term starter here? Or is this going to be a short-term thing? I don't know, but I do think it's the right decision. Okay. Outside of that, nothing to really go over. Those are your 3 big uns for the day. So let's talk some fantasy football. Thank you guys for being here. Do me a favor, hit the like button, hop in the live chat. Let me know how you guys are doing. We're halfway through the season. Let me know how your rosters are looking, what your records look like, how you guys feel going into week 9. But let me know how you guys are doing. It's Halloween week. You guys doing anything fun? And let's have some fun tonight. Let's talk some fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen. Bryce, are you going to accept the trades that are pending in the league? Sure. Sorry. Let me take a look here. Let's see what we got. Sleeper's been kind of loading slow for me this past week or so whenever I try and pull it up. All right, where do we have trades? Also be good to know which league, because here's a trade. Wow. Hunt, Dobbins, Shakir for Bijan. Nice. Is that the only trade I need to approve? No. Josh Jacobs, Deontay Johnson for Mike Evans, Cortland Sutton, Jacoby Myers, Javonte Williams, and Cade Otton. Wow. Okay. I'm just going to accept that. And is that it? Oh, we got one more. No, wait. We completed that. All right, I think that's it. It's the weekly report is out, so it's burying all the trades. But looks like we're in the clear. Jay Fitness putting his whole team on the trade block. All right, let's move along. Let me know if there's any other trades out there. Josh, trade Dell and Mostert for James Cook. Yeah, I do that in a heartbeat. 16-man PPR. Dak, A-Chain, Mostert, Lamb, Moore, and Joku Dell. I mean, Dell is kind of important to this roster, especially being that it's a 16-team league. You got Downs, Charbs, Russ, Caleb Williams. I will say that that flex spot that Dell is in is pretty important. I feel like running A-Chain Mostert on a weekly basis is not a fun situation. I sorry, when I first said I do this in a heartbeat, I didn't see it was a 16-man league. 12-man league, I do this in a literal heartbeat. I mean, it is a fair trade, even in a 16-team league. Man, I mean, who are you going to flex here? Josh Downs? I mean, I guess Downs could be in a better position now. Yeah, that's tough. And I mean, Dell's going to see more volume now. He's probably a little bit more valuable than he was a week ago. Does have a tough matchup this week against the Jets. If you're comfortable flexing Josh Downs, like you're not going to flex Zach Charbonnet. I don't know that you need three. I get why you have three quarterbacks, though. These are like three guys that you just don't know what you're going to get on a weekly basis out of. Super close here. Super, super close. We're going to, you know what? We need a poll. We need a poll for the night. All right. Which side in a trade? 16-team league. Hit the like. All right, let's go. Tank, Dell, Mostert, or Cook. Well, I guess I should specify. Now that Dalvin Cook is playing football again. Tank, Dell, and Mostert, or James Cook. I think it's really, really tough here because I would far rather have James Cook in an RB2 spot over Mostert. Not that Mostert is like not getting touches. But losing Dell here makes it very tough, Josh. It's super close. I think you can do the trade, but you just got to understand you're going to be flexing Josh Downs over Tank Dell. Not that Tank Dell himself hasn't had any volatility, but it's super close. And I mean, DJ Moore hasn't been great. That is super close. Steven, sorry, I did not see the super chat at first. What's going on, my guy? Thank you so much for the super chat. Would you trade Tracy and Higgins for Walker? That's a good question. Very, very close here. Kind of depends on the rest of the roster. I think this is a fair trade, the way that Tracy has been playing. Like, I think that if Tracy hadn't got, which is probably what's a concussion this past week, I think I'd say no. I mean, he's had 14 or more fantasy points in 3 out of the last 4 games. He gets Carolina in week 10, even if he misses this week, and it is a confirmed concussion. He gets New Orleans in week 14. I mean, he's the RB1 on that team. They only gave Devin Singletary 2 touches last week, and then he had 3 targets in the pass game. Tracy also had 3 targets and 20 touches and got the goal line work. So, I mean, don't underestimate Tracy here. And then, I mean, Higgins has been great. He just was hurt last week, hurt to start the year. So, I mean, he's had 12 or more fantasy points in 4 straight games, 3 touchdowns in the last 3 games. So, I mean, I do think this is a fair trade because I'm pretty high on Kenneth Walker still. I know this past week was bad, but he still gets involved in the passing game. It really is going to depend on the rest of the roster here, because I don't want to undervalue Tyrone Tracy or T. Higgins here. Still think it's a fair trade, but depending on this roster, I might hold here. This is a close one. So if you have time, let me know at the bottom of the chat what your roster is. And sorry, guys, multitasking. Let me know your roster, and then we'll go from there, because this one is close. Like, I feel like this is fantastic value for the person who's giving you Walker, but I also feel like it's still good value for you, because I still feel very positively about Walker, even though he had the down game this past week. But the Seahawks offense as a whole had a down game. So, and man, Walker should have had a big game. That was such a good matchup. Just bad game script. They gave Charbs the garbage time touchdown. So, but yeah, I mean, that's another one that could have been used for the poll question. But thank you for the super chat. And yeah, just let me know. I'll keep an eye out at the bottom of the chat there. Jay Does, what's up, my guy? Good to see you, bro. Sliced me up in one of the dynasty leagues this week. What, you beat me by 70 points? I didn't have a great week in I only won like a few matchups this week. I had a lot of close ones this week. Barbara, are the Vikings a good option now that Flacco's quarterback? They're still a good option. They're not as good of an option, but they're still a good option. You know, definitely the upside is kind of capped here, but I'm still okay starting them. You know, we've had one down game for the Vikings on the season, but they have played poorly against opposing quarterbacks and opposing wide receivers. So they're not as good of a start, but if, you know, don't do anything crazy here. Flacco did throw a pick in his last game, and he had a fumble in week 5 that was lost. But I mean, you know, we got JT, we got Pittman, we got Downs. We got some options here for this offense. So it depends. Like, who else is out there? Who else you picking up? Don't do anything too drastic here. I will say the one defense that I'm eyeing pretty heavily going into the week is going to be the Eagles, who are actually rostered in a higher percentage of leagues than you might think. I mean, at 43%, not that bad. But 8 points this past week, 16 in week 7. The Jags, no Christian Kirk. Gabe Davis is banged up. Brian Thomas Jr. is banged up, although they both have a chance to play. ETN, I don't even know if he plays football anymore. Trevor Lawrence was okay last week, don't get me wrong, but it feels like the Eagles have a good opportunity this week. All right. Ghost Hunter, sent out a trade offer in my Superflex League. I give Darnold, Komet, and Reed for Puka and Swift. It'd be a good trade for you. Not an awful trade for them, but it's a better trade for you, and I think you know it. Kyler, Goof, May, Caleb. Yeah, you can afford to lose Darnold. You can definitely afford. I mean, who's your tight end? No tight end listed, but our tight ends are Ingram and Otten. Yeah, you can lose. You can lose Komet. You can lose Reed. And you got Hill, CD, Ladd, Jennings. I mean, you're still thin. You get Puka though. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'm okay with this trade. Albert, good to see you. Should I worry about Jaden Reed? Should I try and trade him? My answer is no and no. Listen, there's something to worry about here in terms of the volatility amongst these Packers wide receivers for sure. But ultimately, no, I would not worry too much here. And there's a good matchup this week. So for me, I'm not trading Jaden Reed before this week. If he plays poorly this week, then that's one thing. But if, you know, it's a good matchup, he should be utilized. So, but here's the other thing. If Jordan Love doesn't play this week, then do we see a lower ceiling for Jaden Reed? It's certainly very, very possible. Let's see. When Malik Willis was the starter, Reed had 6.6 points and 10.9. So it is definitely possible, but it is a good matchup this week. And then they get a bye week. So I would imagine Jordan Love will be back at the after the bye week if he doesn't play this week. So I'm still going to hold out on Jaden Reed here. I mean, that's the thing. You guys know me. Like, I'm not going to trade a player who's still top 10 at the position coming off of a 7.5 performance and a 3-point performance the week before. I don't want to sell a player low. So I don't know if we're starting him this week. Like if he's a must start, it's going to depend on the health of Jordan Love, but I wouldn't trade him right now. All right. So Steven says we got B-Rob, Monty, Chuba are the other running backs. Wide receivers are Dobbs, Nico, and Pop Douglas, who can be dropped. Jeez Louise. So you'd be left with B-Rob, Monty, Chuba, Walker if you do the trade. Dobbs, Nico. I don't know that I do this trade. I think you need the depth right now. I know Higgins is banged up and Tracy's banged up. Nico's banged up. But B-Rob, Monty, Chuba are healthy. Tracy is an RB4. I mean, you still have Walker as an RB4 here. But then you're left with Dobbs, Nico, and Pop. I mean, Tracy's been playing great. I don't think I do the trade. I feel like you need the depth more. And Higgins will be back. I mean, believe it or not. So I don't think I do the trade. It's not an awful trade. I think if you like the trade and you do it, it doesn't, kill you by any stretch. But I don't know that I do the trade. I think I hold off there. It's a close one. But I feel like the depth for you right now is more important. And it's not like with Tracy, it's not like it's a long-term injury. If he's not going to play this week, probably he might clear concussion protocol, but then he'll be back the following week. And Higgins, it doesn't appear to be a super serious injury either. So, yeah, I think I hold off. I think I do. All right, let's see. Carlos, what's going on? Pick one rest of season. A wide receiver. Tillman, Ladd, or Shakir. Ooh, I mean, that's a little tough because we just had literally these three guys' best weeks of the whole season. Sorry, guys, I got to send a quick text. Ooh. Overall on the season, I feel like the player that I want the most here is Khalil Shakir. Who? Shakir has just been so incredibly consistent. I mean, he has double digits in every game except for week 6 against the Jets. I do really like the upside of Ladd. Don't get me wrong. But he's only had double digits in games he has scored, which is fine. But he also has 4 single-digit games and hasn't been very consistent, although he has got a great matchup this week. And he's the wide receiver 20 on the season. And then, I mean, I like everything about... I mean, it's just hard because recency biases comes into play so aggressively here. I mean, these guys literally just all had 20-plus performances. So I do think that the Browns wide receivers and the Browns offense this week won't be as good as it was the past 2 weeks. Tougher matchup against the Chargers, although they haven't been as stout defensively the past 2 weeks, but they've still been good. I'll go Shakir. And then really Ladd, Tillman. I mean, it's like a tie. It's they both scored 2 touchdowns this past week. They're not going to do that every single week. Really, I feel like I kind of lean Ladd because I feel like there's more potential consistency out of that offense. We'll know at least what to expect. Whether in 5 weeks, I don't know what the Browns are going to be or not be. Sorry, my camera's super shaky tonight. That's tough. It's very close there. I'll go Shakir. Lad Tillman, but we could sit here and debate this for an hour straight. Barbara, start T-Law, Winston, Carr, or Flacco, because I got Love. Yeah, I feel like if Love even plays, I don't know that anyone's going to be super confident and starting him, I do think Trevor Lawrence is streamable this week, but only if Brian Thomas Jr. plays. T-Law was not that bad this past week, and at least this defense allows for the offense to have a good game script. But yeah, Gabe Davis playing through a shoulder injury, ETN somewhere in the world, Brian Thomas Jr. banged up, no Christian Kirk. Parker Washington was okay, but the Eagles defense has been looking better and better. I'm a little worried about T-Law this week, so I would lean Flacco. I know we kind of had a discussion about Flacco a couple moments ago, but the matchup for Flacco this week, if you're in this type of situation, I think he's a good streaming option this week. I do think Carr is an okay option as well. He's got a good matchup this week against the Carolina Panthers. So if you want to go Carr, but that's the thing, the ceiling, the floor here is very close amongst everybody. So I would look at the matchup and go Flacco. But it's certainly not a bad matchup if you want to go Carr. But the Panthers are giving up the 20th most fantasy points to the quarterback position. They're not as aggressively bad as they appear to be. So I'll go Flacco, but yeah, any of these guys, it could be very close amongst each other. So give me Flacco, but I think everyone here is playable. With Deontay Johnson traded to Baltimore, how's Xavier Leggett ranking among wide receivers? Excuse me. He's fine. It's first, is Andy Dalton playing this week? When is Dalton going to be back? Is Bryce Young playing this week? They got a good matchup against the Saints. Let's see where the Saints come in against wide receivers. 23rd. Yeah, the Saints defense is just falling off of the bandwagon, or however we want to say it. Leggett is certainly worth rostering, worth picking up, worth playing at times in soft matchups, but I'm not going to get overly excited. He sits at 36% rostered. He was in the waiver wire video. He's had a really weird pattern. You know what? I feel like you guys would enjoy seeing less of my face and seeing player stats. So we'll do that. But yeah, when we look at his stat lines, they're just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. 19.6 fantasy points, a touchdown. 1.8, no touchdown. 11.3, a touchdown. No touchdown, 2.9 points. 13.4, a touchdown. So, yeah, I don't know if we're really going to be able to trust him, but I do like this matchup this week. He should be the wide receiver one here moving forward. But we also got to keep in mind that Jalen Coker has been involved, at least was involved this past week, although this touchdown was really a garbage time touchdown. So, but, did a good game in week 5. Somebody commented on the wide receiver video today and said that I was crazy for having Jalen Coker as a sit. And I'm like, crazy? Really? It is a good matchup. And he performed last week, but it was also a garbage time touchdown. And it's like, I don't want to really throw a rookie who's had 1 or 2 good games right into my lineup. You've got to have better options. Coker's worth picking up, don't get me wrong. But, yeah, these are going to be your 2 guys for the Panthers. And then we also got Adam Thielen somewhere in the world as well. So, Leggett, fine, but I'm not going to go out of my way and get crazy here. But he will probably be a consistent option as the season progresses, hopefully. But, yeah, he should certainly be rostered. So, Chuba about to be the wide receiver one on that Panthers team. That could very well be true as well. Good news for Chuba. Carlos, PPR at running back, rest of the season. What we got here? Javonte, Chase Brown, Tracy. I mean, the way that Tracy is being used right now, yeah. I mean, it's got to be Tracy number one. I mean, 14 or more fantasy points, 3 straight games. I'm not ignoring that, But at the same time, I really like Chase Brown and I'm on rookies only. I was like, why is Chase Brown not coming up? So I mean, he's been great. I mean, they're saying he struggled. I guess he did. He had 2.67 yards per carry, but he still got you double digits and a touchdown. And he scored double digits in every game since week 4, except for week 7. So, I still really like Chase Brown, and the Bengals are kind of in this place where like they need to win some football games. And if they do, they could still fight for a playoff spot. So, I still like Chase Brown a lot. He gets the Raiders this week, a good matchup, then 2 tough matchups on the road, I will say. Okay schedule, but a couple tough matchups in here leading up to the fantasy playoffs. Pittsburgh tough, Dallas good. Tennessee has dropped. They're now 21st against opposing running backs, where they were like top 12 for a couple weeks there. So Cleveland's actually, they've risen a little bit. They're like 7th. Then Denver's top 12. So yeah, it's a little bit of a tough stretch, but he gets a couple good matchups. But we're also going to start to see, with these teams fighting for playoff spots, we're going to see some of these matchups start to go out the window towards the end of the season. So I think I'll go. The interesting thing too is Tracy's got Singletary somewhere floating around. Chase has got Zach Moss somewhere floating around. It can't be Javonte. It just can't be. I'm very mad at Javonte Williams for not scoring a touchdown against the Panthers, albeit he could have. He got the ball at the half-yard line after Bo Nix barely did not score a touchdown, and then Bo Nix scored on the next play after they gave Javonte a chance. But I mean, Javonte just wasn't really necessary last week. Javonte's fine, but it's like, am I excited about starting Javonte against Baltimore this week? No. Am I excited about starting him next week against Kansas City? No. So yeah, I'll go Tracy, Chase Brown, Javonte, but Tracy and Chase Brown I still think is close. Tommy, what's up, my guy? Finally got a W in your home league after 5 straight losses. Congrats. We'd love to see it. Still in the mix. Need a flex this weekend. We got McMillan, Pop, Leggett, or Hawkinson. I'm going Xavier Leggett. Like, this is the type of situation where I'm going to take the volume. So I'll start Xavier Leggett here. I don't want to start McMillan against against the Chiefs. I just don't. No, thank you. No, thank you. What, he had 9 fantasy points this past week and a good matchup, good game script. No thanks. I'm done with Pop. I'm staying far away from Pop Douglas. There's just no interest whatsoever. It's a tough matchup against the Titans, giving up the 6th fewest fantasy points to the position. I can't do it. And Hawkinson, we're not going to throw Hawkinson in just yet. Let's see him get rolling a little bit. So, yeah, I'll go Leggett in this situation. All right, Carlos, rest of the season, we got Tua Purdy staph infection. That one's interesting because, I mean, Purdy's coming off a great game. So I probably still lean Purdy number 1 here. I mean, he is your QB5 on the season so far. So I got to go Purdy, and that was my initial thought. He's been great the past couple of weeks. So, yeah, give me Purdy 1, but then the next 2 are tricky. I think I lean Stafford number 2, though. How do you guys feel about the Rams right now? Because I feel like as long as Puka and Kupp are healthy, I don't know if we're going to get 25 points every week out of Stafford, but, I think 16, 17, 18 to 20 every week is probably very doable. So, and this is one of those teams that can make a run for the playoffs. I mean, this division, like every team's like 3-4. So I'd probably go Stafford, but I think Tua will be better. It was his first game back, you know. Got a tough matchup this week against the Bills, though. Then three good matchups. So I'll go Purdy, Stafford, Tua, but I think it's very close. Barbara, my record's 3-4. Do I still have a chance at the playoffs? It really depends on your league and the standings and how many other 3-loss teams, 4-loss teams, 2-loss teams there are. But yeah, they're generally speaking, you definitely still have a chance to make the playoffs for sure. Lost Godwin. Now I'm 3-5, says Louise. Stash Dellin Downs. Very good pickups. It could be a lot worse than 3-5. Which I guess, Barbara, are you 3-5 or 3-4? Tommy, lineup is JD5, Tillman, Ladd, Kyron, A-Chain, McBride, D-Hop, Pop, McMillan, Debo Wright, Corum, Hawkinson, Evans. Man, I feel like this team has changed so much throughout the season, Tommy. I feel like who did you draft initially? A-Chain, Kyron, and Jacobs. But you traded Jacobs for Evans. That still wasn't bad. And you had Mason. That's right. Tua or Geno rest of the season. Now that's close. My initial thought lies with Tua, but that might be recency bias because Geno on the season has not been that bad. But the past week left a pretty sour taste in your mouth, but he's still the QB 10 on the season. But like really look at the amount of high ceiling games. Like we just got these 2 games right here, then like 3 average games in there. So I mean, at least we know that the Seahawks are going to be in position where they need to throw the football pretty consistently. So I think I'd lean Geno by a hair. But really, I think this week will kind of, I mean, he plays the Rams. Like, if we get another stinker out of Geno, then I don't quite know. And really, I mean, like 15 or less fantasy points, then I think this is a pretty telling week for Tua as well. In a tough matchup here, in a big divisional game. Like, the Dolphins can win this game. This turns their whole season around as they got shredded by Buffalo in week 2. That was a game Tua got hurt. So I'll lean Geno for now, but that's close. Ghost Hunter 6-2, high scoring team in one league. 4-3, just lost Diggs in the other. Second team was on bye this week since we have 11 teams. You got a bye week? A bye week mid-season? What's our take on Leggett? So I guess we already went over that. Leggett is a wide receiver 1 on a bad offense and mid QB play. Pretty much summarizes it. If Diggs wasn't out, I'd take Cook all day, but now Dell's going to be featured a lot more. Nico returns. Yeah, I do agree with that. D-Wave was offered a trade. Kenneth and Kyler for Brian Robinson and Brian Thomas Jr. I have Kyron, Dobbins, Tyreek, Kupp, Mooney, Dak, Purdy, 10 teams. What QB would you drop now? I dropped Dak over Purdy, but I don't think it's all doomsday for Dak still, but this past week was not encouraging. So you're getting Kenneth and Kyler. Give a B-Rob and B-Tom. I mean, personally, I don't think I'd do this trade. I mean, I know Kyler's been good, but Purdy hasn't been that much worse. I think I just roll with Purdy and take the depth of B-Rob and Brian Thomas Jr. here. I don't think I'd do the trade. I mean, I like Kenneth a lot, but if you got Kyron, Dobbins, B-Rob, I think you're fine. Although Kyron, Kenneth, Dobbins is not bad. But then also having Brian Thomas Jr. in the mix here is important. Like Mooney, you can't really trust. I don't think I'd do the trade personally. Jonathan, Mooney and Dell as starters week 9. I got DJ Moore, Reed, Pittman, but they've all been awful. Yeah. I mean, the problem with Mooney is, once again, like we can't just flat out trust Mooney on a regular basis. Like this big game against Tampa Bay, the big game against Tampa Bay again, and a good game against Philly, but he had that big catch that it turned out to be a touchdown. If you took that away, it was another stinker. A good game against Kansas. This was the most promising game for me out of Mooney this season. Was 8 targets, 8 catches, 66 receiving yards against Kansas City's secondary. Tampa Bay has been awful. Philly's secondary has struggled. They've been better as of late, but also this was the big catch in that game. So I mean, it is an okay matchup, but Dallas is like 16th or 17th against the position. No, they're better than that. They're 12th against opposing wide receivers. So, yeah, I think I'd start Reed if Jordan Love starts, but if not, I think DJ Moore is still startable this week. I know it's been really tough the past 2 weeks with these two stat lines, but it's a good matchup against against Arizona. They're still struggling against the wide receiver position, giving up the 22nd most fantasy points to the position. So they're still bottom 10. Yeah, Dell is fine, but even then, like, I think we want to maybe tamper expectations out of Tank Dell this week. Like, this past week was good, but the volume was still really low here. 4 targets, 4 catches, 35 receiving yards, and a tutty. And now he gets the Jets, who are giving up the 5th fewest fantasy points to the position. And it's like, yeah, they're going to put that defensive pressure on Tank Dell because when we look at this roster, I mean, we got John Mechie as the next leading receiver this past week. Xavier Hutchinson did nothing. Robert Woods is on this team, but did nothing. Steven Sims out. So I'm a little worried about Dell this week. I think he had to be pretty desperate. He's still an okay start. He's going to see the volume, but I would probably start Pittman. Minnesota's really struggled against the wide receiver position. And I mean, I know Pittman has been really hard to start, but Minnesota's given up the 2nd most fantasy points to the position outside of Baltimore. And we got Flacco a quarterback here. So, I mean, these games right here, these were when Flacco was playing. So I would start Pittman. And frankly, I'd probably start DJ Moore. If Jordan Love is playing, I'd start Jaden Reed and Pittman. I take the matchups here, but I'll go DJ Moore and Pittman. I'll take the matchups. But I understand where you're at. Oh, it's a standard league? Well, sorry, I didn't see that. I mean, you're still looking for touchdown upside, and I think the most touchdown upside comes with the matchup. So I probably lean with Pittman and DJ Moore still. What a season. Trade Mark Andrews or TJ Hawkinson for Bigsby. Thinking about making the offer. I do have Njoku, but don't want to undervalue my tight ends. I would keep Mark Andrews. I mean, listen, Hawkinson can come in here and be Hawkinson at, any moment. But I have a tough time trading Mark Andrews, even with Deontay Johnson going to this team. Like, yeah, we had week 1, we had the goose eggs, but everything else has been solid. And he's now the tight end 7 on the season. Tight end rankings really changed this past week with every tight end scoring a touchdown, it felt like. But you got Njoku, I do think, I don't know if I want to trade Andrews for Tank Dell, but I'm okay trading Hawkinson. And I think Hawkinson's going to be good. But if you got Njoku and Andrews, like, you're fine. So I think it's a good trade for Bigsby. I mean, the only problem with Bigsby is what are we going to get when ETN is back? Like, I mean, if we can hold on to what he did in week 5 with what ETN also did in week 5, or excuse me, this is week 5, then I'm okay. I don't know. ETN might get traded too, but Dearness Johnson didn't hurt Bigsby this past week at all, where the week before he got a little bit more involvement. So I like Bigsby right now, but he does have 3 really bad matchups. I mean, these are 3 tough matchups in a row here, so we got to keep that in mind as well. I mean, Philly's 4th against running backs, Detroit is 3rd, and Minnesota is 7th. So certainly keep that in mind. But I do think it's a fair trade, especially if you can get it done for Hawkinson. If you get Bucky Irving, I'd do that. I'd rather get Bucky Irving, because the thing with Bucky Irving is we've seen that, yes, Rachaad White, who does not suck, by the way, can get involved, even if it's mainly in the passing game. He's been decently efficient the last 2 weeks, Rachaad White haters. Essentially just as efficient as Bucky Irving was last week. We've seen that Rachaad White can get involved. Sean Tucker can have 34 fantasy points, and Bucky can still have 18 and a half. So I'd rather have Bucky, plus part of a better offense overall. So, I mean, I'd still do it for Tank Bigsby, but I'd rather do it for Bucky. Don't feel bad. I beat Spencer too. Good. Rosters: Love, A-Chain, White, Chase, Reed, Ferguson, BTJ. What would you change? I think Olave is going to have a good week, especially if Carr is back. I'd rather start Olave over Reed. Brian Thomas Jr. is up in the air. You can start Pickens. You can start Shakir. A-Chain and White is fine. I'd probably keep those in. You can go Andrews over Ferguson, but it's kind of a crapshoot between the two. Then yeah, Love and May is an issue with both of those guys banged up. But A-Chain White's fine. Chase, you got to start. I go Olave. I really like Olave this week. I mean, Olave had 18 fantasy points with Jake Hayner and Spencer Rattler. They get the Panthers, who just gave up a huge performance at Cortland Sutton. And Carr should be back this week. Yeah, give me Olave. And then I'd prefer to start Brian Thomas Jr. in the flex, but if he's not healthy, you probably take the matchup with Reed. But if you don't feel good about it, if Malik Willis is the starter, then just go Shakir. Shakir's been great, super consistent. So you got plenty of good options here. Then you just got to figure out quarterback. But you got a good roster going into the week. If you need somebody to cut here, like you don't want to cut Drake May, you don't want to cut Jordan Love, it's Pop Douglas. And you don't really need Pop. You got Chase, Reed, BTJ, Olave, Shakir. You're good there. So Flacco throws 600 yards for every turnover. That's fair. Jonathan, we got Jacobs, Hall, Walker, Pollard, Swift, Kamara. Need 2 starters and a flex. Tough matchup for Jacobs this week, coming off a huge performance. Although he was playing the Jags, but tough matchup for him against Detroit. This is a doozy, but I mean, the player that you are starting that we can no longer ever doubt is Alvin Kamara, who had a good game against the Chargers. I was a little worried about him with the quarterback sitch and the matchup on the road, but he was fine. I mean, mainly because of the targets and receptions. So I go Kamara against Carolina, no doubt there. Oh man, you got tough choices. How do you have this roster? I mean, you can't really make a wrong choice. Like, I kind of gravitate towards DeAndre Swift here because he's got a great matchup against Arizona. And they just gave up a ton of points to A-Chain. And then, I mean, I really like Pollard this week too. He's also got a fantastic matchup against New England. New England has fallen. I think they're giving up the 30th most points to the running back position. I mean, that is tough because, like, how do you bench Breece Hall? I know he had a bad game, but I mean, they are on a short week. Houston's been pretty good, 5th against the running back position. Then Walker is coming off a bad game too. He's got a good matchup against the Rams. He's super hard to bench. Rams are still 22nd against the position. And the Jacobs coming off a great game, but he's got a tough matchup. I kind of want to go Walker, Swift, Kamara, but boy, is that close. I mean, this is a good problem, but that is close. Ghost Hunter says, hit the like button or your QB will get tired and sit out a week like Richardson did. Oh, goodness. All right, we got this. Will Higgins play? I mean, he might. I mean, your guess on T. Higgins is as good as my guess on T. Higgins on a weekly basis. So if he's healthy, he's off the report. He's considered day-to-day right now. If he plays, you start him. John, looking for flex options between D-Hop, Allen, Chase Brown, McMillan, Downs, Coleman, and Tillman. Yeah, Hopkins feels a little interesting this week against the Bucks, but I don't know that I want to risk it. I'd probably go Keon Coleman. Now, Miami is still quietly very, very good against the pass, but they bent a bit last week. So, but they're giving up the second fewest points. I probably take the chance on Keon Coleman here. I think that's going to be my answer. But you do have some options here. But he's starting to get much more involved, and Amari Cooper distracting on the outside of the field is really opening up the middle of the field for Shakir, Coleman, and Kincaid. So I'll go Coleman, but yeah, you got some options. Last three are on waivers. The last three I like. Depends on who you have. You don't need to start Braylon Allen. Like, of course, Braylon Allen scores a touchdown. So now everyone's like, oh, can I start Braylon Allen? It's like, no. I mean, really, he is a handcuff. I mean, look at this. This has not been a player that you want to start on your roster. He's a handcuff. Oh, man. That's close, though. I think I like Coleman the best overall, but you got a lot of opportunity with Tillman and Downs, too. I will make an agreement for Pop. 12-team, 2 receiver flex. If you can hold him when May is healthy, I think he can be viable. An argument, I suppose, is the word. I mean, sure. But, like, when are you ever going to start Pop Douglas now? Bad matchup, good enough, bad matchup, good enough. Bye week, good matchup, bad matchup. And, I mean, so Drake May, weeks 6 and 7. I mean, it's kind of hard because Pop was sick this game, but I'm just out. The argument's fair. I'm just out. I'm out. Can we get an update on the catch fam leagues and a quick Underdog? You know what? I do want to check my Underdog stuff. Here we go. Wow. I don't think my teams are doing very well. Hold on. Boop. It does not surprise me that my teams aren't doing very well, but let's see. Here's my best team. Kyler, Brock, A-Chain, Henry, Eckler, Charbonnet, Justice Hill, Amon-Ra, Rashee Rice, Terry McLaurin, Cortland Sutton, Dobbs, Dortch, Brown, Marvin Mims, Kittle, Freiermuth, Isaiah Likely. That team's not that bad, actually. But Rashee Rice down. Is Kyler stacked with nobody? He's stacked with nobody, just Greg Dortch. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Bijan Barkley, Swift, Javonte. Tank Dell, Keenan Allen, Chris Godwin, Deontay, Dobbs, Shakir, Pearsall, Bob Douglas, speaking of, Bateman, Schultz, Gesicki, Dawson Knox. That's an interesting team. It's actually a pretty good team, but the tight end position sucks. CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, oh gosh, Kyron Pacheco, Monty Pollard, Damian Pierce, Tank Bigsby, nice. Amon Ra, Nico Dobbs, Gabe Davis, Bateman, Pop Douglas, DeMarcus Robinson, DJ Chark, Evan Engram, Cole Kmet. I mean, that's okay, but quarterbacks kind of suck. Other than that, yeah, I mean, I'm only look at my ad stake and my winning. They're not. I mean, we got a lot of time here, but yeah, it's not looking too good, which doesn't surprise me. All the injuries, but the puppy's looking okay here. I mean, I'll take a puppy championship this year. Baker. Wow, we had a lot of Bryce Young literally is 0 points. White, Swift, Brian Robinson, Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Pittman, Flowers, Godwin, Addison, Chark, Schultz, Otten. I do know I have a lot of Baker stacks, so yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't know if that's a good representation for you guys, but Puppy's doing okay at least. Got some hope there, but we'll see what happens. In terms of the Catch Fam leagues, I'll give you guys a quick update too. And then we'll get right back to your guys' fantasy questions. All right, so that's fantasy in-game, which I lost both my matchups this week. So I dropped to number 2 and still number 1 in this league. Thank God. All right, so in the Catch Fam League number 5, okay, J-Dubs, this is why you want an update. You're trying to show off. We got J-Dubs, Rio Goated, Pete. I miss you, Puka. Kelvion, this is a close league. Where am I in this league? Oh, this is my bad league. This is the bad league for me. I got smacked this past week. So J-Dubs atop at league number 5. League number 4, Busta, Hustle for It, Mr. Freeman, Mr. Skurs, RIP Mamba. There's me. There I am. League number 3, Spanky, Kyrie, Hustle for It, Jay Heron, Prey. I dropped in this league. Oh man, I took a bad L in this league this past week. Catch Fam League number 2, Foster's SS9. Who is SS902? Is that Cameron? No. Reverse, me and Pete at 4 and 5. Nice. Box and the Jack, Speezy, Tommy. League number 1, you know who's number 1 in league number 1. Me and Steven are 1 and 2. Wow. Andrea, former champ, at 3. J-Dubs at 4. Chase at 5. Senior Cinnabon at 6. Oh, look at Spencer at 12. So sad. Catch Fam Auction League. Cinnabon, Prodigy, Pete's doing okay. Me, Spencer, Michael. But this league's pretty open. We got a lot of 4 and 4, a couple of 5 and 3, 6 and 2. That league's pretty open. Super Flex League. We got Smokey's killing that league. Bud Smoker, Kuda, Andrea, Cats, Mr. Sarcastic. I'm really this low in this league. Jeez. And we won't go through the Dynasty leagues. Well, sure. Why not? We got Tyler at number 2. Who let that guy into the league? I'm number 5 in this league. Reverse, Box and the Jack, Ethan, Chase, or the other 1 QB league, Taymone, Smokey, Michael, Cat, Spencer, J-Dubs, me, Cinnabon. That is a tough league. Second Superflex League, Michael's all over the place. Cats with his stupid stack team in this league. Taylor, Smokey, me, J-Dubs, Chase. That's a close league too. I have fallen in the first super. I'm still in the playoffs, so let's go. Steven just killing this league. Speezy doing very well. Taylor Gang's supposed to be tanking, but he's not. Spencer doing well. J-Dubs doing well. I did not know I was at 6, but Ben, Tommy, Talks, all at 4 and 4. This league's pretty open, other than Mr. Sarcastic, who is truly tanking. So all the leagues have been very, very good. Lots of competitiveness. And we're about halfway through, but we got a long season to go. All right, there's your update. J-Mo in trouble with the law. What do you do? I need a Jameson Williams update. Colin, drop Tajay to pick up Parker Washington. I mean, yeah, I don't really think you need to hold on to Tajay. So if you want to take a shot on Parker, go for it. I'm fine with that. Reese, Ladd, Pittman, or Downs? I mean, Pittman and Downs are going to fluctuate every week. So, and Ladd hasn't been super consistent, but it's probably Pittman or Downs than Ladd for me. Especially if we're going to get Flacco as a starting quarterback. Yeah. Do I start Ramondre or Chuba? It's a good question, Jonah. They both have very good matchups this week, so I'm honestly fine rolling with either guy. Titans 21st against the position. Stevenson coming off of a good game. Chuba a tougher matchup this past week against the Denver Broncos, but he gets a smash matchup this week against the New Orleans Saints. So it is very close, but I'll take the matchup with Chuba. It's super close. Assuming all are healthy, need a flex and a wide receiver and half PPR, says Ghost Hunter, T. Higgins, Chubb, Sutton, Keenan Allen, Bigsby, Dowdle, and Tillman. T. Higgins got to play here. Give me Cortland Sutton. That's how bad the Ravens secondary is. I'll go T. Higgins if healthy and Cortland Sutton. If Higgins is not healthy, you could go Tillman, but I'd probably go Tank Bigsby. Just a random kid says he just did a traded off Reed and Ertz for Metcalf. Team is Love, A-Chain, Chase Brown, JJ, Flowers, Keon, and Njoku. I think this trade is okay. I mean, I still think Reed is going to be fine, but I guess I prefer a healthy DK Metcalf because he's going to be a bit more consistent. Ertz doesn't bother me because he got Njoku. I'm okay with the trade, but I don't think it's all doom and gloom for Jaden Reed. My tight end pick and Njoku's finally paying off. Got Ingram on the bench. Should I claim Otton over Ingram? I mean, no, maybe. You're going to have two stud tight ends here no matter what you do. So don't overthink it. If you like Otton more, that's fine. But don't forget that Otton's getting an increase in volume because Mike Evans is not playing. So, but Otton's still been good, but yeah, it's close here. I mean, these guys could finish very, very. Oh, that's not Kate Otton. That's Scott Simonson. But yeah, I mean, Otton's been great. Ingram's been great. It is a tough matchup this week for Otton. So I don't quite know that Otton is going to have 29 fantasy points again this week, or 18 for that matter. But he should get great volume. But yeah, you can't go wrong here. Michael, need a running back, 3 wide receiver league. Want to trade one of my wide receivers. Got Madison, Etienne, Mostert, Moss, Ray Davis. Wide receivers are St. Brown, Ladd, Downs, Debo, Pickens, both on bye. Would you offer Downs for Tracy? I mean, yeah, of course. I'd rather have Tracy than Downs. So if you can get that done, then do it for sure. It's a good trade for you. I have Darnold. Should I keep Tua on my roster? And if so, who should I drop from my bench? Benson, Roshan Johnson, Davis, Vidal. I mean, George, you don't need half of these players. Like, they're all handcuffs. So whichever handcuff you like the least, I would probably keep Ray Davis. Like, we've seen if James Cook misses time, how the Bills are going to utilize Ray Davis, and it's obviously very good. So I would definitely hold him. I would probably hold Roshan Johnson as well because he still gets some standalone value, gets goal line work, And if anything happens to Swift, he's going to see a lot of volume where, like, it feels like Benson's the RB2 for the Cardinals, but that verdict is kind of still out. And Vidal is next up on the roster, but yeah, you can drop Benson or Vidal, whoever you like the least here. MD HD. What's up, bro? At wide receiver, Devonta, DJ Moore, JMO, Tolbert, Roma Dunze, McMillan. At running back, we got Pacheco, Saquon, Javonte, Tracy, Ramondre, Mostert, 4 and 4. Are you trading more Ramondre and JMO for Amon Ra? Probably. I mean, that's going to leave you with Pacheco, Saquon, Javonte, Tracy. I mean, it might kind of hurt in the short term because you're going to have to start Javonte or Mostert. And Ramondre, I still think is going to be good, but for Amon-Ra St. Brown, yeah, I'd consider this trade. I mean, that gives you Devonta, Amon-Ra. Then you got a little bit of a hole after that. I still think DJ Moore is going to be okay. Can you get something? I mean, I get that you're getting Amon-Ra, so it's going to be tough, but can you get something else back here? Like, they're probably going to have to drop a player anyways. You're doing a 3-for-1 trade, right? Unless they're just like they had Stephon Diggs and I don't know, one of the other 14 injured players in the last 2 weeks. So you can get like just something back for depth here, but I mean, I'm okay with the trade, but you are losing 3 players who could all be good this season. And Ramondre's been fine. I think JMO will be fine once he's back. And DJ Moore will be fine too. So, but like, yeah, you're getting a stud. You're getting Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if you want to do it, I think it's okay. MJ Miggy. Full PPR, need a flex. Dobbins, McConkey, or DJ Moore. I'm rolling with Dobbins. Yeah. Safest option here is Dobbins. I really feel like Dobbins is a tough player to bench. It is a tough matchup this week against the Cleveland Browns, but I'm probably sticking with Dobbins here. He's still top 20 back. I'm going to go Dobbins, but if you want a player at the better matchup, it's going to be DJ Moore here. He just has he's had the slump the past 2 weeks. And then I guess it's not really fair. Like Ladd is another player in a great matchup too. I just worry about the consistency here with Ladd, but he should have a good game here. So 4, go Dobbins. If you want upside, go Ladd. Team has changed for good or bad. Started out hot, lost Rice, acquired Evans and Debo. I think I'm ready to smash Debo and Evans back soon. Yeah, I think your team initially got better, but injuries hurt you. So, I mean, nothing you did wrong. What's your thoughts on handcuffing your running backs now that it's midseason? Grabbed Wright last week and am hopefully grabbing Corum. I mean, it's fine. It really depends on your situation. Depends on, where do you need help outside of, what type of bench players do you have? What type of, how many injuries are you dealing with? What's your record? All that stuff. But it's always, regardless if it's, the first week, the 6th week, the 8th week, the 10th week, like it's always fine to handcuff your players. It just depends at what cost. Misfit Skillet, which side of CMC and Judy for Debo and Chase Brown? I'd probably go Debo and Chase Brown, but man. Oh, man. Christian McCaffrey set for simulated practice. What does that even mean? I don't know if I've ever heard of a simulated practice. Anyways, hey, you want CMC, you can take it, but or if you have CMC, you can keep them. But Chase Brown will be a viable running back for you, and Debo is a great play, tons of upside. So Well, my initial thought lies with Debo and Chase Brown, but if CMC is involved, we got to know what's at risk here, right? Would you offer Darnold, Reed, and Mostert for Amon Ra and Walker? Yeah, I'd do that. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Devin, what's good, man? Would you trade Bijan for Jay Jettis? Got McLaurin, London, Dobbs, Henry, Najee, Chuba, and Bijan, Ingram, Kincaid. I mean, this is about as fair of a swap that you'll get. It just kind of depends. I mean, Bijan is the RB6, and Bijan has been great. He's especially been great the past 3 weeks. He's had a touchdown in 3 straight games, which has been really nice. He's got a great matchup this week. He's got a great matchup the following week. He's got a pretty dang good playoff schedule, too. On the other hand, though, you got JJ, and JJ's got a lot of good matchups coming up, too, and he's your wide receiver, too. So he's also got a pretty good playoff schedule for the most part. I don't know if it really matters who Justin Jefferson's playing. I mean, if you do the trade, you got Henry, Najee, Chuba. Like, you're probably okay. And you got JJ McLaurin, London, Dobbs. If you don't do the trade, you're probably also okay. I mean, you're 6-2. It just kind of depends. Do you want to keep the help at running back, or do you want the help at wide receiver? I feel like Henry and Bijan, that 1-2 punch with being able to start McLaurin in London, then flex a player like Najee or Chuba, flex Dobbs. I mean, you can't. There's no wrong answer here. There's truly no wrong answer. So, I mean, these are 2 of the best players in fantasy football. So, if I could get Elijah Moore off waivers, would you flex both him and Tillman over Leggett? No, not against the Chargers. I'd rather go Tillman for the upside than Xavier Leggett to diversify. Is Hall for Collins a good trade? It's fine. It's fair. I mean, Collins was the wide receiver 1 before he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. It's fair. I mean, this was a pretty dang good. He's still the wide receiver 12. So, yeah, I would say it's a fair trade. But I don't think there's no reason really for me to panic on Breece Hall. Like, we've still seen the ceiling, and he's still the running back 12. So, literally, for RB wide receiver swap, this is literally as fair as it's going to get. I mean, you're tossing the RB 12 for the wide receiver 12. So, now keep in mind this playoff schedule, the weeks leading up to the playoffs for Breece Hall, this is an incredible stretch. Really, outside of this short week against Houston, the rest of the season is just beautiful for Breece Hall. Great matchups. He's got the best overall playoff schedule as things stand right now for the running back position. So bear that in mind. But yeah, it's a fair trade. KJ, better full PPR flex. Sorry, guys. Deontay or McMillan? Deontay, but he still holds a lot of risk in his first game with the Ravens. He holds a lot of risk, but it's Deontay. I don't like McMillan this week against the Chiefs. Patrick, trade Waddle and Javonte for Olave. I'd probably do that trade depending on your running. Like, if your running backs are fine without Javonte, I would do it. It just depends on what it does to your depth. But the player that I want the most here is Olave. Bray Rock, I can trade Cook, Wilson, and Jennings for CD and Evans. Oh, depends on the roster. I mean, Garrett Wilson has been fantastic. There's no reason to put Garrett Wilson in like a lower tier. I mean, he's your wide receiver 9 on the season. Cook's been great too. Jennings is like the outlier that I don't care about here, but I mean, we got the wide receiver 10, the RB7. But Lamb and Evans, I mean, But they're both in the top 10 too. It really, this one really, really depends on the roster and what you're left with. Darian need a flex. Devontae, DJ Moore, Monty, Dowdle. I'm just going to flex Monty. If I own David Montgomery, he's in my lineup every week. He's your RB9 on the season. Yeah, it's been a little like lower ceiling, 14 points this past week. Just give me Monty. Start Kirko, Baker, or Kyler. I'm going Kyler. I mean, I know Kirk was great last week, but really, we take away the Tampa Bay games and the Philly game. It's just like Darnell Mooney. He just has not been good this year, fantasy-wise. It is a good matchup against Dallas at home, but I think I got to go Kyler. I mean, he's just been great. I think his ceiling's higher. And he had a bad matchup last week against Miami and came through, so. Kirk's okay, but I think I prefer Kyler. And, I mean, Baker's basically a player that, can we really set Baker? I don't know, but it's a bad matchup. They're on the road at Arrowhead. Depleted wide receivers. We got Sterling Shepard banged up. I think I go Kyler. Chuba, Coleman, or Downs. Now that's close. I'm going to go Chuba. Might be crazy for it, but I'm going to take the matchup and go Chuba. Ray Davis or Ty Johnson. You got to start one. I don't want to start either. They're both, they're only startable. Cook doesn't play. I think, I think you got a better shot at getting points with Ray Davis. Dell or Sutton? I'm going to go Sutton. I'm going to take the better matchup here. I'm going to go Sutton, just straight up. Drop Jawan Jennings for Adam Thielen. Nah, I'll keep Jawan Jennings. Which tight end do you prefer? Otten, Pitts, or Fergie? Pitts. Give me Pitts. But it's super close. That's true. If I misspoke, Kansas City is the worst team in the league against opposing tight ends, but I still just I got a weird feeling about Tampa Bay this week, which I might be wrong about. Kevin Jones, Jacobs, JT Reed, MH Jr., JJ Flowers need 2 each, wide receiver and +1 flex. Jonathan Taylor. I'll go. You could go Jacobs here, but I'd probably go Jones. It's a little bit of a better matchup overall. I think I go Jones, but it's close. You could go Jacobs if you want. Those two are like neck and neck, but definitely go Jonathan Taylor. Go Marvin Harrison Jr. Line him up. Oh, you got JJ. Yeah, we gotta go JJ. JJ, MH, Flowers. If Jordan Love plays, you could go Reed over Flowers or MH, whichever you like better. Kyler or Darnold? I'll lean Kyler. Kyler's been very good. Fergie or Hunter Henry? I'll go Ferguson. Hunter Henry, bad matchup. Brissett at quarterback, probably. Yeah. Do I hold on to Amari Cooper? Absolutely. Don't drop Amari Cooper from one. This is part of the Amari Cooper experience. Okay. He's going to be a little bit volatile. Go back to last year. Okay. 2.6, 0, 14, 4, 14, 24, 15, 7, 3, 6, 12, 20, 51. He's going to be volatile. He just had 16 points 2 weeks ago. Don't drop him. It was a bad matchup this week and a bad matchup week 11. But yeah, I'm not dropping him. Got rid of Ferguson for Otten. I like that move. Vikings defense or stream Houston. I mean, you could stream Houston, but I mean, Houston's defense has not been that great. And like it's a short week. I talked about them at the beginning of the defense video, and like, you know, they're startable, like top 15 fantasy defense. 8 or more points the last 3 weeks. But it's a short week, and like they're good against the run. They're not good against the pass. They're not good against opposing quarterbacks. You can, but I think there's a lot of risk on a short week with starting them. So I think I just start the better overall defense in the Vikings. The Vikings have also struggled against wide receivers and quarterbacks. So. Space Ghost, Mason on bye, Diggs down. Yeah, it's been that type of season, man. Bullseye, pick one defense for week 9. Broncos, Texans, Bengals. I probably go with the Bengals. Probably take my chances here against Gardner Minshew and company. They were awful last week against Philly, but they were very good against Deshaun Watson and good the week before against Daniel Jones. So they're in the defense video. I think they're a good streaming option this week. I mean, you can always take a chance on the Broncos. Don't get me wrong. They're the defense 1 in fantasy scoring. Are you going to start them against Lamar? I don't know. We just went over the Texans. Yeah, you got the Saints defense. The Saints defense is startable this week. Startable. Defense 11. But boy, I do not trust them. They have looked very bad the past couple of weeks, but they play Carolina, so they're startable. But I don't prefer it. Can I trade McConkey for Chubb? Nah. Don't do it. My problem with Chubb is like if Jameis Winston's a starting quarterback, then they're a pass-first offense. I mean, Chubb had all the carries last week, and it was a bad matchup, but it's a bad matchup this week. I mean, he's going to be a guy we can probably play as the season progresses. Like, got a good matchup week 11, bad matchup, bad matchup, bad matchup, bad matchup. Cincy, I think, has risen a little bit. I might be wrong. Yeah, they're 15th against running backs. It's fine. Miami's a good matchup. But, I mean, this is a bad stretch. Pittsburgh, Denver, Pittsburgh, Kansas City. I mean, I just don't know that it's worth it. Kevin, your advice paid off for the win last week. Let's go. I'm glad to hear that. I always worry every Sunday. On Sundays, I think about you guys more than anything. Like, what did I say to that person and this person? It's tough. It's a lot coming at you, a lot to break down in 1 week. So I certainly try to do my best. So happy to hear that. Who'd you go with for RB2? Eckler, Bigsby, Singletary? I go Bigsby. Not even close. Real Gopher, drop a like, save the squirrels. That's right. Flex running backs that are not chosen are Keenan Allen or Tolbert. I mean, I'm not starting Singletary even with Tracy out. I got a sour taste. I mean, Singletary, Eckler could always do something, could score, could get enough receptions. Allen, Tolbert. I mean, you're looking at true wild cards here, man. I think I take a chance on Keenan Allen. In a pinch this week, Algier or Spears. What's up, Joe? Good to see you, bro. I go Tyler Algier just due to the matchup, but yeah, I don't feel good about it either. Should I trade Chuba for ETN? No, don't do that trade. Just roll Chuba until the wheels fall off. You don't want any part of ETN. Mason Lamb for Breece Hall and Nico. I mean, I take the Breece Hall and Nico side. I'd rather have Breece Hall for the, guarantee right now of points. Number 1 in the backfield. No Christian McCaffrey looming around. No shoulder injury, whatever. when Nico's back, he'll be as productive or more productive than CeeDee Lamb. So I if you can afford to not have Lamb for a week or two, then sure. Someone offered me McLaurin, Chubb, and Addison for Lamb and Singletary. Nah, I keep CeeDee Lamb. It's close. I mean, you could consider it. I mean, even if Lamb wasn't coming off the huge game, I would still feel the same way about CeeDee Lamb. But McLaurin's been great. I mean, he's a wide receiver 8. I think Lamb is, I want to say like wide receiver 5. Yeah, wide receiver 5. So it's not that far apart, but I still feel like Lamb's upside is higher. You can consider it, but I don't think I'd do it. I do kind of agree with this. You're kind of selling too low on Lamb. Do I start the Chiefs, Texans, or Bengals D? I do like the Chiefs defense this week, but the problem with the Chiefs is that they just don't have a high ceiling. And I warned it about this past week. They just don't have a high. They're such a good defense, but they just don't. They're not a good fantasy defense. I'm gonna risk the Bengals. The Bengals better have a good week, or you guys are gonna hate me. Kevin, we got Jacobs, Flowers, or Reed. It is a bad matchup for Flowers. I kind of forgot about that earlier in the stream. But is Pat Surtain going to be on Flowers or Deontay Johnson? Reed's got the best matchup, but who's throwing to him? Honestly, I probably just take the safe points with Josh Jacobs. Downs or Waddle? I'm going to go Downs. With Flacco at QB, I'll go Downs. McBride or Otten? I mean, you really can't go wrong. You could flex one of the two and start one of the two. You can't go wrong here. You know? I mean, McBride has been great. I think McBride is a safer play. He does have the tougher matchup than Otten, though. So you just can't go wrong, man. They're both great starts for you, Colin. Starting Green Bay defense over the Broncos this week. Neither a great option, but I don't think I want to drop one. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, they should both get you enough points if you feel good about the rest of your roster. I mean, technically the Packers are still the defense 4. The Broncos are the defense 1. The Packers have been down the past 2 weeks, and this is a tough matchup. Yeah, I mean, you got the 2 best offenses in the league there. So Ravens, Lions, that's tough. Should I just keep rolling with the Vikings D? Don't want to drop or don't want to roster 2 defenses. Yeah, I mean, I like Washington this week, but I don't like any of these other defenses. And if it's going to hurt your roster, then I just roll with what you have. The Titans have been awful. And Jacoby Brissett hasn't even really been committing a lot of turnovers. Not trusting the Saints. I do like Washington this week. Daniel Jones looked awful. What did Pittsburgh finish with? 15 points. Yeah, I mean, if something happens as the week progresses and you feel like you can move on from a player, you could go with Washington, but I just ride the best defense here and ride with the Vikings. Would you trade Mason, the CMC owner, now for Javonte? Or just hold? I'd probably just hold. I mean, you're starting Jacobs, JT, and Aaron Jones anyways over Javonte Williams. Like, when are we really gonna, like, you can always start Javonte. Don't get me wrong. He's the RB1 here, but you're not starting him the next 2 weeks. Then Atlanta is 6. I mean, you got, I wonder if Baltimore dropped. No, I mean, they're 9th. They dropped a little bit. So you got 3 top 10 units against the run in a row. Cleveland's top 12. Las Vegas, a good matchup. Chargers are top 5. Colts and Cincy are okay. I mean, you can if you really want, but I feel like I just ride the Mason train until it's over. That's actually a little bit tough. I think it's okay to do the trade, actually, I guess. I mean, when are you we know Jordan Mason's hurt, then it looks like CMC might be back here. But I just wonder like how many touches CMC is gonna get right off the bat. But now, like, I feel like they're gonna start if CMC isn't back week 10, like they're gonna sprinkle in Isaac Garando. Like he looked very good, off of 14 touches, and it wasn't just one big run like week 6. He was efficient. Um, so if you like it, I think I'm okay with it. But it's still close. But yeah, I mean, I still think, I still think you're starting Jacobs, JT, and Jones first and foremost there. Gabe Davis, Parker Washington, Leggett, or Adam Thielen. I go Xavier Leggett. He's going to see the best, most consistent volume out of any of these guys. What's up, Pate? Colin, if I would put Otten in flex, should I start him over Pollard? No, I'm still going to start Pollard this week. Pollard's been great. He's got another great matchup this week. It's close here. It's close. I think Otten probably has more upside, but Pollard's a safer play. I think Kyler and MH Jr. finally figured each other out. I mean, I wasn't too overall concerned. I know it was a couple of down games, but with most rookies, regardless of position, you're going to have a couple down games. So it was hard to start him for a couple of weeks. And I was a little concerned this week because Miami, going into week 8, was giving up the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers. And it's another bad matchup this week and next week. So I don't want to get overly excited, but I do think that Marvin Harrison Jr. is a player who, at worst, is going to live in your flex spot for the rest of this season. And he's got a really good end of season schedule. So, and the Cardinals could certainly be making a push for the playoffs. Don't call me crazy. That whole division is open. Yeah, that's fair, Kevin. I don't hate the trade. I mean, right now, like, let's say Mason, like, CMC doesn't play week 10. How confident are you in Jordan Mason? Like, he's got the hurt shoulder, was hurt the week before in week 7. Garando's looked okay. I'm okay with it. It just adds depth. Yeah, I'm okay with it, Kevin. If you like it, I'm good. FBA, we got Chubb, Tillman, Adams. Must win week. The pressure. I probably go Tillman. It's not a good matchup by any stretch. Adams is the safe play here. Like, he just won points. Adams is a safe play. It is a good matchup for Adams. The Texans have been bad against opposing wide receivers, giving up the 27th most fantasy points. If you want the points, go Adams. If you want upside, go Tillman. But if it was a good matchup this week for Tillman, I'd be all about it. I was all about starting Tillman last week. Was all about picking him up off the waiver wire going into this past week as well. Man, this roster percentage number is going to shoot up. But it's just a tough matchup this week. Chargers are giving up the 3rd fewest fantasy points to the position. So you want the upside and the risk, go Tillman. You want the points, go Adams. Yeah, I agree, Salty Dog. I'd probably take the volume, but at the same time, Otten, Chiefs, giving up the most fantasy points to the position. It is close, but I would probably just roll Pollard as well. Should I use my number 2 waiver spot for Leggett? Probably so. I mean, over the other options, yeah. I mean, who knows what's going to open up the next couple weeks? But if you need help, I mean, I know people are looking at Adam Thielen now too, which is fine, but Leggett's going to be very involved either way. Bobby, we're hurting at running back. Should I consider trading CD for Mixon? Well, it depends on the roster. That's a pretty big trade to consider, to say the least. But Mixon has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, I think if you offered CD, you'd get the trade done. It really depends on the rest of the roster, though. Mikey, is Jerome Ford worth a waiver pickup? Oh, gosh. You only have Rico? I swear this season is cursed. What'd you do last week if you only have Rico? Jerome Ford, he's not even healthy. Who else is out there, bro? Because I don't think Jerome Ford is it. Would you trade Smith for Hall? 6 and 2, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a flex. We got Kyler, Bo Nix, A-Chain, Mason, Dowdle, Algier. You do need some help there. JJ Evans, Pittman, Shakir, Thielen, Pop, McMillan. I mean, it's a fair swap, and I'm a big Devonta Smith guy. Those of you who have been around for a while know that. And he was my favorite buy low. You guys can go watch the buy low video from last week or just look at the thumbnails. All Devonta Smith, right? I mean, Smith has such a good schedule. The Jags, the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Rams, the Ravens, the Panthers. Pittsburgh's a little tough. Washington, Dallas. I mean, this schedule is ridiculous. But it's a fair swap, and you need the running back help. Maybe got a little bit of a sprinkle out of Dalvin Cook. You don't really have a viable RB2 behind A-Chain, so you can roll JJ, Pittman, Shakir for now. And it's a good trade for your roster, but Smith is going to ball. But I still like Breece Hall, and Breece Hall's got a fantastic playoff schedule. Goff or Baker? I'm going to go Goff this week just because Baker's in a worse matchup. The team's a little depleted. Last week I was okay with Baker because it was a good matchup. This week I'm a little bit worried as the Chiefs are still giving up the 7th fewest fantasy points to the quarterback position. They are giving up the 7th fewest fantasy points to the wide receiver position, the 30th most points to the tight end position, so that's good, and the least amount of points to the running back position. So I'd rather just go Goff. Just give me Goff in a divisional matchup. Did any of y'all see a few weeks back someone managed to score 1.2 points? No. It's awful. Drop Jawan for Johnson, Moore, or Robinson. I probably prefer the upside of Jawan Jennings. I mean, I do like DeMarcus Robinson. But yeah, I probably prefer the upside of Jawan Jennings. Where are you? There we are. I told a lot of you guys, be careful going into week 80. He might not play if you're going to go crazy on the waiver for him after Ayuk's injury in week 7. But yeah, he should be back next week. Ricky had 4 catches. Not bad. Jacob Cowing did nothing. That's it, right? Chris Conley had a target. Ronnie Bell had a target. I mean, they're going to get Jennings involved. I still kind of prefer the upside of Jennings here. Full PPR, Stevenson or Hunt? That's a great question. I think overall, I do prefer Stevenson. Call me crazy. But he's a clear-cut RB1 here for the rest of the season. It's got a pretty good playoff schedule there. The only issue is like if Drake May comes back, do they use Ramondre less? His usage has been a little bit up and down the past couple weeks. And I really like right now, if it's right now, you need points right now. I like Kareem Hunt more, but his efficiency has it's dropped every week. Nothing terribly concerning, but it has dropped. He's at least still scored those touchdowns. But then, yeah, at some point, November, Isaiah Pacheco's supposedly going to be back. Yeah. So I think they're going to probably use both backs here and try and keep Pacheco healthy going into the playoffs. Man, I feel like this back half schedule for the Chiefs is so easy. Buffalo, tough. You could always get some sneak wins in here from these other teams. Houston, Pittsburgh, tough, but it's a pretty light schedule for the Chiefs to finish out the year. Anyways, I probably want Hunt right now. Just because Pacheco's looming around, maybe Stevenson on the season. That's still close. Do you think Ladd is a potential riser? I mean, I think the really interesting thing for me with Ladd McConkey is like people are calling this a breakout game, and I don't really know that this is a breakout game. Like he had 17 points in week 4. He had a touchdown and 14.9 points in week 1. Like we've already seen this. You know, he only had 6 catches and 2 of those were touchdowns. Like, you know, I mean, he had 5 catches in both of those games and one of them went for a touchdown. So, I mean, I think Ladd McConkey's great. I've liked Ladd McConkey. Like in the wide receiver start sit videos, he's been the guy. I'm like, you're gonna flex someone on this team as Ladd McConkey or maybe a healthy Quentin Johnston who had some scoring early in the season. But yeah, he's not a 1 week wonder because he's had 2 other good weeks on the season. So the problem is I don't know how consistently we're going to get these higher like volume passing games out of the Chargers. We should get more. Like they need these type of games, but yeah, I mean, you look at Herbert's numbers on the season, like they've barely thrown the ball. So it's a good matchup this week for Ladd. Tough matchup next week. We'll see what happens. But yeah, Ladd's fine. All right, so you got Justice Hill, Zamir White, Ray Davis, McLaughlin, Roschon. Yeah, I mean, that is tough. I would try to roster Justice Hill and Roschon Johnson. Like, at least they might get you points. You know? Ray Davis is probably worth rostering here, but he's a handcuff. Like, you need some sort of production right now. And McLaughlin might even be one of those guys. Geez. Roschon gets those goal line touches. Justice Hill has those random games where he's involved. I'd rather they're more valuable than Jerome Ford with Nick Chubb back. Congrats on your Washington win. That was crazy. That was crazy. It was beautiful. Jaden Daniels is the man. Congrats on your Falcons win. A huge win for the Falcons, realistically. I mean, they're atop of that division with 2 wins against the Bucs is huge. Starters are Bijan and Mason, but now Tank and Etienne at RB2. No, well, then you're starting Bijan and Tank right now, right? Had Dak, Zeke, Etienne, Olave, Ridley, Goddard, MH, Dallas, and Tyler Bass. That is crazy. It's Joe Dirt only, no Dallas Goddard. What do I do if I have the Niners? Which team should I drop Jawan for Robinson? So I'm trying to make sure I understand your question. Should I drop Jawan for Robinson? What do I do if I have the Niners whole team? I mean, the Niners will be fine. I like Demarcus Robinson a lot. I still think he's supposed to be the wide receiver 3 on this team. I'm sticking by my preseason analysis. I mean, sure, you can switch it up here, but Demarcus Robinson will have some inconsistency. You're going from a wide receiver 2 to a wide receiver 3, although the Niners will also involve George Kittle. So, I mean, is it because they're on bye week? Well, if you need a starter now, then go get a starter now and try and win this week. Then try and fight for Jennings on the waiver if you want to. So that's okay. My bad. I wasn't thinking about the bye week. Carter, start Coleman or Hopkins. I'm going to start Coleman. It's a, but I'm going to go Coleman. Just way more upside. That one guy, thank you for the super chat. If Higgins is out, start Roma Dunze or Jacoby Myers. I'm not starting Rome. I am not starting Roma Dunze. I mean, what are these stat lines? It's a good matchup. Sure, maybe he pops. Maybe he gets you 8 points or 6 points or 9 points or 2 points or 23. I mean, come on. I'm not doing it. Jacoby Myers has been great. He's a start. If I could spell his name right. He's got to be a starter. He had 17.2 points with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. No Devontae Adams against the Chiefs. He had 13.2 points against Pat Surtain. He was the first wide receiver this year to have double digits on Pat Surtain, if I'm not mistaken. Myers is the start here. Easy. Don't think about it. Dummy. If I can't get Leggett off waivers, would you grab Coker and flex over McMillan, Pop, Moore? I mean, all these guys are so close. I'm probably not going to get crazy happy about starting Coker this week. He had a garbage time touchdown. You know, he's okay to roster, but then Thielen could come back into the mix. I mean, McMillan, I would still rather start in an awful matchup just due to the volume. I'd probably go Tillman, McMillan, Tolbert, Moore, Pop, Coker. But it could go any direction here. Salty, Bryce Young had visions of being Jaden Daniels. You know, it might not all be over for Bryce Young. We tend to roll these guys out sooner than we should. So, yeah, that's a fair way of putting it for now, though. Pearsall or Tillman rest of the season? For a floor, Pearsall for upside, Tillman. But we still haven't really gotten, we don't have a clear picture on what Ricky Pearsall could be. But last week was encouraging. But, you know, what does he have? Like 8 targets, 9 targets on the season? You know? I will say, I think towards the end of the season, the Niners will be in more competitive games. Starting Bijan and Tank, but they had the same bye weeks. I'm working waivers. Oh, I got you. Praying people will start dropping someone valuable. Got Brooks on IR. I don't know when we're gonna see Brooks, man. Yeah. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen between now and week 12. There might be options that pop up. It could be the way this season is going. So it's probably smart to make plans now, but you never know what's gonna happen. What's your record? If you have like a winning record, you could always just kind of take what you get that week. Is Kamani Vidal decent? I mean, sure. But he's not getting enough usage that I just typed in the word decent instead of Vidal. I mean, yeah, he's just not getting enough usage that we can really feel super confident. And I mean, look at these last 2 weeks. The 1 touchdown catch against the Broncos, he might be a nice handcuff, but that's about it. Very important question. Who's going to have the best Halloween costume before Thursday Night Football? Oh, I guess Thursday Night Football is on Halloween, or Halloween's on Thursday Night Football. I feel like Myles Garrett always has the best Halloween costumes, but he's not playing. I feel like it's going to be a defense. I feel like Sauce Gardner. No, I feel like he's like not a dress up type of guy. Maybe Rodgers does something weird. Maybe a running back. Maybe Joe Mixon. I feel like Mixon's done some weird things before. Pick up Tillman. He's got tough after this week. I feel like this week's a tough matchup. Saints is good. Pittsburgh not so good. Denver not so good. Pittsburgh, yeah, that is a tough little stretch right there. I think picking up Tillman is smart, but yeah, we might want to tamper our overall expectations. Who do you think the wide receiver one is on the Packers and Ravens rest of the season? I'm going to argue that the wide receiver one is still Jaden Reed, maybe Romeo Dobbs. It's very close. I feel like the Ravens like the same type of situation. I'm still going to lean Zay Flowers for now, but it's kind of hard to say. It's about two of the toughest to look at. Wide receiver 2 in the Niners, I'm still going to say is Jawan Jennings. I have Rodgers and Burrows quarterback, but both have a Week 12 bye. Would you pick up Flacco, Winston, or Herbert? Well, I guess there's no true guarantee that Flacco's the quarterback in Week 12. It's the Lions at home. Jameis. Oh my goodness. Jameis gets Pittsburgh. I don't love that. It is at home. Herbie fully loaded. It's Baltimore. I'd probably go Herbert. Give me Herbert. Plus, there's no true guarantee that Winston or Flacco are the starting quarterbacks that week, but the Ravens are giving up the most fantasy points to quarterbacks. Just give me Herbert. Colin, Niners or Ravens defense? The Niners. The Ravens have been awful. Was just able to start watching. Have Deontay. Should I try trading? You can see what you get. I don't think his ceiling is going to be crazy high at the Ravens, so you can see what you can get, but it'll probably be a fine flex play. Rodgers going to dress up as a GM. Yeah, the Jets are just, come on. This team is so far gone. Master Assassin, Kraft or Pitts this week? That is a good question. I probably lean Pitts. Cowboys are 22nd against the position. Who's going to be throwing a Kraft this week is the problem. He gets the Lions. Where do the Lions come in? They're giving up the second fewest points. So give me Pitts. I feel like he's a safer start this week. 6-2. Been playing waivers with your advice. Nice. Lost Godwin and Rice. Wow. Got Mason before week 1. Nice. Thought about Herbert in case he goes to Dallas. I don't think he's going to. I feel like we've heard that rumor for like months now. And if he does, you still got Zeke. You still got Cook. You still got Dowdle. Still a crowded backfield. I don't think it's going to happen. But if you're 6-2, don't stress too much. If you lose 2 more games, including week 12, because your running backs suck, like you're still in line to make the playoffs as long as you win majority of the rest of your games. If you win leading up to week 12 and you just have to take a shot at running back that week, don't hurt your roster doing so. Should I drop Jennings for Tillman? I mean, you can, but it's super close here. Jennings is going to be the wide receiver 2 on the Niners. He's going to be in much more competitive matchups as the season progresses here, and the Niners are doing whatever they can to make it back into the playoffs. That division is wide open right now. The Browns, who knows what they're going to look like in a couple weeks, and they have some bad matchups coming up. So it's close. I think both are fine. So it could go either way here. Tillman has more upside, but I think Jennings is going to be the wide receiver 2 on the Niners. At first, I thought you meant Justin Herbert is going to Dallas. He might. Who knows at this point? Just kidding. Robinson or Tutu on waivers. I prefer Robinson right now, but we'll see how that wide receiver room shakes out. But I prefer Robinson. Sometimes I forget Khalil Herbert exists, just like Chicago. Dang. Herbert's like quietly had a good career, right? All right, boys and girls, we're about 2 hours in. So if you guys need anything last second, throw it in here. Other than that, we'll start wrapping up. We have start sits at running back and wide receivers out for you guys. Start sits at quarterbacks, tight ends will drop early in the morning. So make sure you guys check that out. We have must start defenses out. We have waiver wire ads out as well. So plenty of content already in the early part of the week out for you guys. And we'll keep rolling with our rest of the week content. So don't worry. We'll have everything you guys need as the week progresses. So we'll have our must-start players. We'll have kickers rankings by Pete, buy low options, sneaky starts, last-minute waiver ads, and an early morning video on Sunday with 10 things you need to know before Sunday's football kicks off. And I might do one extra video this week is what I'm hoping for. So I'll keep that one a secret, but look out for that one because it should be a good one. What's the chance Tracy plays? He's got a concussion. It's 50-50. Don't know if I'll be streaming tomorrow. What's up, Chase? And Thursday's Halloween, so I'll probably be out and about on the town with my daughter. I'm not sure about tomorrow. Usually on Wednesdays, I have to film at least 3 videos, and then I edit 1 video for Fantasy Endgame. So it just kind of depends. But lately I've really only been streaming like twice a week. It's been super, super busy, but I will try. Kevin, you are welcome. Thank you guys for the fantasy questions. Hit the like or Aaron Rodgers will hire you as his next head coach. D-Rob or Greg Dortch? Definitely D-Rob. Definitely D-Rob. Sorry you caught us at the end here, Chase. Good to see you, bro, Chacho. All right, guys. Thank you so much for all the fantasy questions tonight. Thank you for letting me potentially help you guys with your fantasy lineups, and good luck on waivers. Halfway through the season, ladies and gentlemen. So good luck to everyone this week. I'll be on Saturday for sure. And I'll try to get on again throughout the week when I can. But nonetheless, drop me a comment on any of the YouTube videos. I do answer all the comments on the YouTube videos. So I'll keep posted, and we'll just keep rolling, guys. So that'll do it. Love you guys, man. Loves community. Love the catch, fam. Talk to you guys soon. Check out the content throughout the week as it goes out. Drop me a comment. Drop some likes on the videos. Really does help. And thank you guys so much for hanging out tonight. And thank you for all the fantasy questions. With that, I will say thank you so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the catch and